Jace tightened the strap of his satchel as the small courier shuttle descended toward the capital city of Valthuria. He had delivered packages across dozens of worlds, but this one felt different. The instructions were clear. Deliver it directly to the royal wedding hall, no questions asked. A mysterious package, sealed with royal insignia and a note that simply said, "For the princess, handle with care." He had learned long ago that in crowded alien cities, observation was as important as speed. As he stepped off the shuttle, he felt the weight of the package in his hands. It wasn't heavy, but it carried a responsibility heavier than anything he had ever faced. The wedding was no ordinary ceremony. It was a political event, a celebration meant to unite several alien factions under one banner. The Princess Lyria was young but respected, known for her sharp mind and her commitment to her people. Jace didn't know why the package was important, only that it was his duty to get it to her safely. The streets of the capital were unlike anything Jace had seen before. Towering crystalline spires reflected the light of three suns, casting prismatic colors across the ground. Vehicles hovered silently between buildings, and the air was filled with a hum of energy from the city's power grid. Jace moved carefully, keeping to the pedestrian lanes, adjusting his pace to match the flow of alien traffic. He passed a group of Valthurian guards, their armor gleaming in the sunlight. He raised a hand politely. "Delivery for Princess Lyria," he said, hoping his human accent was clear enough. The guards looked him up and down. One stepped forward, tall and with a face that seemed both human-like and alien, with faint ridges along the jawline. "Do you have authorization?" he asked, his voice a low rumble. Jace nodded, presenting a holographic document that flickered to life above his palm. The guard scanned it quickly, eyes narrowing. "Very well," he said, "follow us." Everything felt alive, vibrant, and strangely welcoming. Yet beneath the beauty, he sensed the tension. The city was preparing for something big, something that carried weight beyond mere celebration. Finally, they reached the royal wedding hall. The building was immense, with arches that seemed to touch the sky and doors carved from a single piece of translucent crystal. Guards stationed along the perimeter watched Jace closely as he approached. He could feel the eyes of the crowd on him, curious and cautious. Humans were rare here, and he knew his presence alone would draw attention. Inside, the hall was even more breathtaking. The floor was polished to a mirror-like sheen, reflecting the glowing ceiling above. Soft music filled the air, alien in tone but beautiful in rhythm. Guests from across the galaxy were gathering, adorned in elaborate attire that sparkled under the lights. Jace's eyes scanned the crowd, looking for the princess. He had seen a hollow image before, but meeting her in person was something else entirely. And then he saw her. Princess Lyria stood near the center of the hall, surrounded by advisors and attendants. She was taller than he expected, with silver hair that caught the light and eyes that seemed to hold both curiosity and authority. Her presence was commanding, yet there was a warmth in the way she observed the gathering. Before Jace could approach, a sudden commotion erupted near the entrance. A group of cloaked figures pushed past the guards, their movements precise and coordinated. The crowd gasped and the music faltered. Jace's instincts kicked in immediately. He tightened his grip on the package and moved toward the princess. "Stay behind me," he murmured, more to himself than to anyone else. The cloaked figures advanced, but the royal guards hesitated, unsure how to respond. Jace didn't have time to worry about protocol. He calculated his moves, remembering lessons learned on countless deliveries. Quick thinking, observation, and courage could turn the tide in a moment of chaos. He positioned himself between the princess and the intruders, raising his hands in a non-threatening gesture. "Stop. I don't know what you want, but you won't hurt her while I'm here." She seemed to understand that this human, small and unarmed by her standards, was willing to risk everything to protect her. Jace didn't know if she could feel it, but he felt a bond forming in that instant, a connection born of courage and trust. The intruders, seeing the determination in his stance, hesitated further. The royal guards rallied, moving in to flank Jace and the princess. The intruders retreated, vanishing as quickly as they had appeared. The crowd exhaled collectively, tension replaced by awe. Princess Lyria stepped forward, her expression unreadable at first, then breaking into a small, genuine smile. "You," she said, her voice carrying through the hall. "Human, you have courage. Will you come closer?" He could feel every eye in the room on him. "I'm just here to deliver the package," he said, trying to sound casual despite the adrenaline still coursing through him. The princess gestured to the package. "I see you have it. Thank you. Few here would have acted as you did." Her gaze was steady, unflinching. I would like you to stay with me for the ceremony. Not as a guest, but as someone I can trust. Will you? But the princess ignored them. She moved with Jace to the center of the hall, guiding him through the ceremony in a way that made him feel included, not out of place. As the ritual continued, Jace realized that this was unlike any delivery he had ever made. He wasn't just carrying a package anymore. He had stepped into a world of responsibility, of trust, and perhaps even destiny. Humans were rare here, but in this moment he felt the weight of what humanity could represent. Courage, ingenuity, and the ability to act decisively when others hesitated. The ceremony ended without further incident, but the princess's gesture lingered in his mind. Being trusted, being recognized for who he was and what he could do, that was something worth more than any reward he had ever received. Later, as the guests began to disperse, Princess Lyria leaned close and spoke quietly, almost as if sharing a secret. I have need of someone like you, someone who can think quickly, who is brave, and who is human. Will you be my Cavalier, everyone? The words echoed in his mind. Cavalier, everyone, a title he had never heard before, one that carried weight in her culture. But before he could respond, she smiled and placed a small hand on his arm. Take your time, but know this, humans are rare and trust rarer. You have both. He didn't fully understand what he had agreed to yet, but one thing was certain. His life had changed forever. A simple delivery had turned into an adventure he never could have imagined. As he looked around the hall at the glowing towers and alien faces, Jace felt something stir within him, a sense of purpose. Humans might be few in the galaxy, but they could make a difference, one brave act at a time. And perhaps, just perhaps, he was about to show the universe exactly what a human could do. The night after the wedding, Jace barely slept. The royal chambers provided comfort he had never experienced, soft beds, gentle lights, and a quiet hum from the city outside, but his mind refused to rest. Princess Lyria's words echoed in his thoughts, Cavalier, everyone. It was more than a title. It was a responsibility, a bond, and perhaps a test. By morning, he had accepted that there was no turning back. He had stepped into a world far larger than the courier routes he had known. Humans rarely held roles of influence on alien worlds, but here, on Valthuria, one human had been trusted above many others. That was enough to give him both pride and anxiety. The princess summoned him to a private courtyard. The morning sun glinted off crystalline towers, casting rainbow reflections across the marble floors. Lyria stood at the center, surrounded by a few senior advisors, each with expressions that blended curiosity, caution, and admiration. Jace, she began, her voice calm but firm, tonight you will see why I asked you to be my Cavalier, everyone. There are factions among my people who do not approve of my rule or the alliances this marriage represents. They will test us, and they may not hesitate to act against what we hold dear. Yet he knew something that Lyria might not fully realize. Humans had a way of thinking outside the expected patterns, of turning constraints into advantages. Where do we start? He asked, setting his satchel down. Lyria smiled faintly. The ambassadors will arrive today for post-wedding negotiations. I need you close. Watch, learn. Intervene if necessary. The ambassadors arrived in procession. Beings from multiple systems, each dressed in elaborate ceremonial garb, filed into the grand hall. They spoke in varied languages, some musical, some harsh, some soft, and translators hummed along with soft light above each delegate. Jace observed everything, body language, tone, hesitation. Small details mattered. It didn't take long for tension to surface. A delegation from a neighboring planet pressed aggressive demands, challenging Valthuria's authority in disputed regions. Their leader was a tall, armored figure with sharp features, speaking in a voice that resonated like metal striking metal. Your union is a farce, the leader said. You have no right to claim influence beyond your own world. Your people are young, inexperienced, and weak. Humans often reacted emotionally to such aggression, but Jace relied on calculation. He leaned slightly toward Lyria and whispered, They're testing you. Not just your authority, but your reaction. Stay calm. Show confidence without anger. But the alliances we form today are for peace, not dominance. If you wish to disagree, there will be proper forums for discussion, where diplomacy, not threats, governs the outcome. His presence unsettled them more than her words. The negotiations continued, but Jace remained alert. Midway through, one of the minor delegates attempted a subtle act of sabotage. An energy panel that controlled the lighting and sound systems was tampered with, meant to disrupt the meeting and embarrass the princess. The lights flickered, sounds distorted, guests murmured in confusion. Jace reacted immediately. He grabbed the panel, analyzing the interface. It was sophisticated, alien, unlike anything he had encountered. Yet his human intuition, honed through years of improvising on courier missions, allowed him to find the weak point quickly. With a few precise adjustments, the system stabilized. Lights returned and sound normalized. The room went silent for a moment, and then the delegates resumed their discussions. Lyria's eyes met his across the hall, and she gave the faintest nod of approval. He could feel her trust solidifying. He wasn't just a bodyguard or a courier anymore. He was a valued presence, someone who could think creatively under pressure. Later, Jace and Lyria walked in the palace gardens, away from the formal eyes of the court. The gardens were alive with alien flora, some plants that hummed with energy, others that glowed softly like lanterns. A small stream ran through, and a gentle mist rose from it, refracting light across the marble paths. "You did well today," she said quietly, her gaze thoughtful. The delegates noticed. "You see things differently. That is rare among humans, rare among anyone, really. How do you do it?" "That combination is dangerous when wielded wisely. I like having you near." Their moment was interrupted by a sudden alert. The palace sensors detected an unidentified vessel approaching rapidly, breaking the city's perimeter protocols. The alarms were subtle, but both Jace and Lyria noticed. The intruder was fast, likely intending to exploit the post-wedding chaos. Jace didn't wait for instructions. "Show me where," he said. They moved quickly to the observation deck. Outside, a sleek, dark ship cut through the sky, evading patrol drones. Jace's mind raced. The intruder could be a spy, a saboteur, or worse. Lyria's advisors were frozen, unsure how to respond. "Human instincts," Jace murmured. "We need to predict its path and intercept before it lands near the royal sector." Jace analyzed the trajectory using simple logic combined with intuition. Alien technology was advanced, but physics was universal. By predicting the ship's likely landing point, they directed drones to intercept. The intruder attempted evasive maneuvers, but Jace anticipated them, suggesting adjustments in real time. The ship finally skidded to a halt outside the palace gates. Guards surrounded it, and the intruder was apprehended. The threat was neutralized without violence, thanks to strategy and timing. Afterward, Lyria turned to Jace. "You see patterns others miss. That is a rare skill. I believe you truly are my Cavalier, everyone." He had faced a test, and humans had once again proven that courage, adaptability, and ingenuity were qualities worth more than brute strength. That evening, in the quiet of his chambers, Jace reflected on the day. He thought about the delegates, the sabotage attempt, the intruder, how he had acted, relying not on alien conventions but on human intuition and reason. He realized humans brought something unique to the galaxy: perspective, a willingness to act, to think differently, to risk oneself for others. As he drifted to sleep, he knew tomorrow would bring new challenges. The factions opposing the princess were not gone. If anything, they would be more cautious, more cunning. But he was ready. Humans could be underestimated, but he had learned that in moments that mattered, humans could shine brightest. And so Jace's role as Cavalier everyone had truly begun, not as a title, but as a responsibility, a promise, and a statement to the universe. That humanity, though small in numbers, could make a difference through courage, intelligence, and heart. The days following the wedding passed quickly, but Jace felt no relief. Each morning brought new responsibilities, new decisions, and new reasons to remain vigilant. As Cavalier everyone, he was expected to be present wherever Princess Lyria went, to observe, to advise, and to act when necessary. It was a role unlike anything he had ever imagined. The royal palace was alive with activity. Lyria moved through it with grace and authority, discussing alliances, reviewing reports, and meeting with advisors from across the galaxy. Jace followed, carrying his satchel, observing everything with his sharp human instincts. He noticed small details others overlooked: a hesitant glance, a subtle hand gesture, the slight hesitation of a guard. These little signs often held more truth than the formal words of alien politeness. One morning, as the suns rose over the city, an urgent message arrived. A faction from a neighboring system, dissatisfied with the post-wedding agreements, had mobilized a small fleet near Valthuria's borders. Their intent was unclear, but they were moving fast. The palace advisors were tense. They debated strategy, arguing over the merits of diplomacy versus deterrence. Jace watched quietly, understanding that hesitation could be costly. "Human," Lyria said suddenly, breaking his observation, "what do you think?" Diplomacy could buy time, but delay could allow the fleet to strike. Immediate defensive measures risked escalation, but a strong demonstration of skill might deter aggression. They are testing your strength, Jace said carefully. Not just militarily, but strategically. Show them confidence without aggression. Prepare defenses, but present readiness and competence. If they see hesitation, they may interpret it as weakness. His suggestions were unconventional, positioning ships in ways they did not expect, using deceptive signals to exaggerate Valthuria's readiness and blending human tactics with alien technology. The commanders were hesitant, but they followed his guidance. The first encounter came sooner than expected. Scouts from the faction approached the city, their ships weaving through patrols. Jace analyzed their patterns, noticing a rhythm to their maneuvers. He advised minor adjustments to the patrols, positioning them where the enemy would least expect, without revealing Valthuria's true strength. The scouts attempted to provoke the defenders, flying close to the perimeter and sending aggressive signals. Jace anticipated this. "They want a reaction," he told Lyria quietly. "Do not give them one. Hold your position, remain calm, and let them make the next mistake." By evening, the immediate threat had passed, but the exercise was far from over. Jace realized that this was only the beginning. There would be larger tests, more cunning adversaries, and situations where lives hung in the balance. That night, he and Lyria walked through the palace gardens. The glow of bioluminescent plants bathed the paths in soft light, and the sound of the stream provided a calming rhythm. "You handled them well," Lyria said, her voice quiet. "I see why my people trust you. You anticipate, adapt, and act with clarity. Few humans would dare to intervene in matters of alien strategy without fear. Humans are used to improvising, finding solutions in moments when the odds are against them. It's how we survive." Someone was attempting to breach Valthuria's defenses, not from the sky but from the ground. "Another test," Jace said immediately, moving toward the observation station. Lyria followed, flanked by guards. The intruders were small in number but skilled. They moved quickly, avoiding patrols and attempting to infiltrate the city's administrative sectors. Jace analyzed their approach, noticing patterns that the guards had missed. They were not here for violence. They were here to steal information, to disrupt the post-wedding negotiations and destabilize the alliances Lyria had worked so hard to create. "Divide your teams," Jace instructed calmly. "Channel them toward the open squares. Use non-lethal deterrents. We contain without escalating." They attempted to fight, but the human-led strategy allowed the defenders to subdue them without casualties. Jace moved forward, facing the leader, a wiry alien with sharp eyes and quick reflexes. "You should not have underestimated us," the intruder hissed. "Underestimation is a mistake," Jace replied evenly. "But preparation and quick thinking prevent failure. That is the human way." Thanks to Jace, we faced the threat without loss or damage. Humans are rare in our galaxy, but they bring perspective, courage, and ingenuity that even the best-trained Valthurians cannot replicate. Let this serve as a reminder that we must value diversity of thought as much as skill. Recognition was not what drove him, but it was undeniable that humanity had earned its place here, not through strength alone, but through intelligence, bravery, and adaptability. As the evening ended, Jace and Lyria returned to the palace garden. The stars above shone brightly, and the city below hummed with energy and life. "You are becoming essential," Lyria said softly. "Not just to me, but to the stability of my rule. The factions opposing us will not rest. They will attempt greater schemes. I trust you to guide me through them. And you remind us that courage is not the absence of fear, but action in spite of it. That is why I have chosen you, Jace. That is why you are my Cavalier everyone." Yet Jace understood something vital. Humanity's strength was not measured in size, power, or technology alone. It was measured in resilience, ingenuity, and the willingness to act when it mattered most. The following days confirmed this. Jace coordinated defensive maneuvers, advised on diplomatic strategies, and helped anticipate the moves of factions who sought to destabilize the newly forged alliances. Each success reinforced the idea that humans could make a difference in a galaxy that often underestimated them. One morning, he observed a fleet approaching the planet. This time it was larger, more organized, and clearly intending to challenge Valthuria's authority. The palace advisors panicked, unsure how to respond to such an overwhelming force. Jace analyzed their formation, noticing subtle flaws in their positioning. "They believe size equals advantage," he said. "But efficiency, strategy, and adaptability can turn the tide. We do not fight blindly." We outthink them. The battle unfolded just as Jace predicted. The opposing fleet, confident in their superior numbers, advanced recklessly. Valthurian ships, guided by Jace's strategy, struck precisely where the enemy was weakest. Smaller human-led squads used speed and unpredictability to sabotage engines and communication links. The enemy was forced into retreat, unable to achieve their objectives. When the dust settled, Valthuria remained secure. Lyria approached Jace, her expression a mix of relief and pride. "You see what I mean," she said. "Humans are underestimated because they are rare, but in moments like these, they shine brighter than most." He had not been the strongest, the fastest, or the most technologically advanced, yet his human qualities, intuition, creativity, courage, and empathy, had made the difference. He realized that being Cavalier everyone was more than a title. It was a testament to the value humanity brought to the galaxy. That night, as he looked out over the glowing city, Jace felt a sense of purpose stronger than ever. The challenges ahead would be greater, the stakes higher, but he was ready. Humans were often underestimated, but he knew they could rise to any occasion, inspire allies, and face the unknown with courage. And in that knowledge, he found a quiet confidence. The galaxy might be vast, dangerous, and unpredictable, but one human could make a difference. And Jace intended to prove it. The morning sun glinted off the crystalline towers of Valthuria as Jace surveyed the city from the observation deck. He could see the calm of the streets below, the palace guards moving with practiced precision, and the citizens beginning their day. Yet the sense of peace was fragile. Reports from the perimeter indicated unusual activity, scout ships approaching faster than routine patrols would allow. Lyria joined him quietly, her gaze following his. "What do you see?" she asked. Jace pointed to the horizon. "They're not testing us this time. They're organized, moving as one. I'd say they're serious." "Then we must prepare. Alert the fleet, coordinate with our defenses, and be ready for anything." Human logic combined with alien technology allowed him to see opportunities that others missed. Patrols were repositioned, energy shields were recalibrated, and communication networks were streamlined for rapid response. Every detail mattered. Hesitation could cost lives. As the invading fleet entered the atmosphere, the city's sensors tracked their movements with alarming precision. Jace analyzed the formation, noticing patterns in their approach. The attackers relied on overwhelming numbers and advanced weapons, but their coordination revealed small weaknesses, gaps in coverage, and moments of delay that he could exploit. "Lyria," he said, "we can't meet them head-on. Too many ships, too much firepower, but we don't have to. We can draw them into a narrow pass near the mountains. There, our smaller forces can outmaneuver them, disrupt their formation, and protect the city." The city, the people, and the alliances he had helped build now depended on his human ingenuity and courage. The defenders mobilized. Valthurian ships, guided by Jace's strategies, moved into position. Drones flew in precise patterns, creating decoys and intercepting enemy reconnaissance. Energy barriers shimmered along key points, funneling the enemy fleet exactly where Jace wanted them. When the first wave of attackers arrived, chaos erupted. Explosions lit the skies, and the hum of energy weapons filled the air. Jace observed everything, issuing commands in real time, anticipating enemy maneuvers and adjusting defenses. Small teams of human-led specialists, inspired by Jace's decisiveness, executed daring maneuvers. They disabled engines, sabotaged weapons, and disrupted communications, all without unnecessary loss of life. Jace felt a surge of pride. Humans might not be the largest or strongest species, but their creativity, courage, and adaptability were unmatched. Amid the chaos, a squadron of enemy fighters attempted to breach the palace defenses. Jace reacted instantly. He guided interceptors, used decoy signals, and positioned energy shields to protect the central city. One enemy ship slipped past the outer defenses, heading directly for the palace. "Not on my watch," he muttered. He coordinated a countermeasure using a combination of drone swarms and energy pulses, creating a temporary barrier that forced the ship to divert. The intruder attempted evasive maneuvers, but Jace anticipated each move. With a final adjustment, the ship was intercepted and disabled, harmless but immobilized. Princess Lyria watched from the observation deck, her eyes wide with admiration. She had seen courage before, seen skill, but Jace's human ingenuity, calm under pressure, and ability to think outside the expected patterns impressed her like nothing else. As the battle raged, another challenge emerged. The attackers had deployed stealth units within the city, attempting sabotage and disruption. Jace split the defense teams, sending squads to intercept these hidden threats. He personally led a team into one of the affected districts, navigating narrow streets and energy-lit alleys, tracking subtle signs of tampering. He found the intruders trying to access the city's energy grid. Their plan was simple: overload the system and plunge the city into darkness, giving the enemy fleet an advantage. Jace acted with precision. Using a combination of alien technology and human improvisation, he isolated the sabotage devices, rerouted energy flows, and neutralized the threat. The intruders realized they were trapped and attempted resistance, but Jace and his team subdued them without casualties. It was not brute force that won the day. It was intelligence, coordination, and courage. Back at the observation deck, Lyria approached him. "You are extraordinary," she said, her voice a mix of awe and gratitude. "Humans are rare, but you show what we have overlooked. You think, you act, and you inspire. That is why you are my Cavalier, everyone." The title was no longer just a ceremonial honor. It was recognition of his abilities, his courage, and the human qualities that made him invaluable. The battle continued for hours, but gradually the tide turned. The enemy fleet, frustrated and demoralized, began to retreat. Valthurian forces, guided by Jace's strategies, maintained pressure, ensuring that no retreating units could regroup. By nightfall, the city was secure, its citizens safe, and the attackers forced back into space. In the aftermath, the city celebrated. Citizens cheered for their defenders, and Valthurian leaders praised Jace's contributions. Even alien factions who had been skeptical of humans acknowledged the difference one human had made. Later in the palace gardens, Jace and Lyria walked among glowing plants and softly humming streams. The air was filled with a sense of victory and relief. "You did more than protect the city," Lyria said quietly. "You protected the alliances we forged, the trust we've built. Humans are often underestimated, but today you showed their true value." "I didn't do it alone. Everyone played their part, but humans have a way of seeing things differently. That difference matters. You represent humanity, and humanity has proven itself today." He thought about the intruders, the stealth units, the chaotic fleet, and how human intuition and bravery had shaped the outcome. He understood that being Cavalier everyone meant more than defending the princess. It meant embodying the qualities that made humanity remarkable. He also knew that the challenges were far from over. The factions opposing the princess would not give up. They would return, stronger and more cunning. But now Jace felt ready. Humans could be underestimated, but their ingenuity and courage were forces to be reckoned with. As he gazed out over the city, watching the lights shimmer against the night sky, he felt a deep sense of purpose. The galaxy was vast, unpredictable, and filled with dangers, but he was not alone. He carried with him the spirit of humanity, the ability to act decisively, to inspire, and to face the unknown with courage. And he knew, as Cavalier everyone, he would continue to prove that humanity, small in number but rich in ingenuity and heart, could change the course of events, protect what mattered, and shine brightest in the darkest hours. The city of Valthuria was quiet the morning after the battle. The streets, once filled with tension and urgency, now hummed with a gentle rhythm. Citizens moved about their day, their conversations laced with gratitude and awe for the defense that had kept them safe. Jace walked among them, feeling the weight of responsibility lighter than before, but understanding that his role had only deepened. Princess Lyria approached him as he examined reports from the perimeter patrols. She looked tired but serene, her eyes carrying the pride and relief of someone who had just survived a trial of unprecedented scale. "You've done more than I ever expected, Jace," she said softly. "Not just in defending the city, but in teaching us the value of human insight. Your actions today will be remembered for generations." "I only did what I could. The fleet, the intruders, they all had weaknesses. Humans see patterns, and sometimes that makes the difference. You've shown why that title matters, not just in words, but in action." Some hesitated, unsure how to interact with a human who had played such a vital role in an alien society, but their admiration was clear. Jace felt an unusual mix of pride and humility. Humans were often few and far between in this galaxy. They were small in number, rarely trusted with matters of great consequence. Yet here he was, recognized not for strength or technology, but for ingenuity, courage, and the willingness to act when it mattered most. Lyria led the assembly, her voice calm but commanding. Yesterday, our city faced threats that could have destabilized not only our alliances but our very way of life. Many acted bravely, but one individual demonstrated qualities that we must recognize. Jace stepped forward. "By the authority of the Valthurian Empire and the trust vested in me as princess," she said, her voice echoing across the courtyard, "I recognize Jace as Cavalier everyone. His courage, intelligence, and humanity have protected our city, our people, and the alliances that will shape our future." Humans rarely received recognition of this magnitude, especially from alien rulers. Jace accepted the medallion with both hands, feeling its weight as more than just metal. It was a symbol of trust, honor, and a reminder of what humans could achieve when their qualities were allowed to shine. "Thank you," he said simply. "I didn't act alone." The people here, the guards, and the princess herself guided every decision. Humans have abilities, yes, but cooperation, observation, and courage are what truly make us strong. Today, you've shown that courage, intelligence, and quick thinking can protect not just one world, but an entire galaxy of relationships and alliances. For the first time, an individual human was recognized not for conquest or technology, but for intelligence, courage, and moral clarity. After the ceremony, Jace and Lyria walked along the palace balconies overlooking the city. The lights shimmered across the crystalline towers, reflecting the energy of a civilization that had survived a dire threat. "You have changed perceptions," Lyria said. "Not just of yourself, but of humans in general. They may be few, but they bring qualities that cannot be measured by strength or numbers alone. Ingenuity, empathy, courage, these are human strengths, and you have shown them in abundance." He realized that being Cavalier everyone was more than defending a single individual. It was about representing the best of humanity. "I hope this shows others what humans can do," he said. "We may be few, but our impact can be great if we act wisely and with courage. Humans will no longer be overlooked, at least not here." One morning, Jace was called to the council chamber. A group of ambassadors from distant systems arrived to formally recognize the victory and the defense of Valthuria. They spoke of courage, of ingenuity, and of the human who had led with wisdom beyond expectation. "You have shown that humans, though rare, are capable of acts that inspire, protect, and change outcomes," one delegate said. "Your actions demonstrate that in moments of crisis, perspective, quick thinking, and courage are as valuable as any fleet or weapon." Later in the palace gardens, Lyria and Jace walked among alien flora that glowed in soft blues and purples. The city below hummed with activity, peaceful yet vigilant. "You've proven yourself beyond doubt," Lyria said. "But the galaxy is vast and challenges will always arise. Will you continue as Cavalier everyone? We may be underestimated, but our ability to adapt, to act decisively, and to inspire will always make a difference. I will continue to protect, to advise, and to show what humans can do. With you by my side, humans have a voice, a presence, and a chance to shape events that affect us all." Through it all, he observed something remarkable. The people of Valthuria, and even the ambassadors from other systems, began to see humans differently. They respected the human capacity for quick thinking, moral judgment, and bravery. Jace realized that being Cavalier everyone was not just about a title. It was about proving that humanity could rise to the occasion, no matter the odds. One evening, as the sun set, painting the city in warm hues, Jace stood with Lyria on a balcony overlooking the palace gardens. The light shimmered across the city's towers, and the air was filled with a sense of accomplishment and hope. "You've done more than protect a city or a princess," Lyria said. "You've inspired a culture, shifted perceptions, and shown that courage and intelligence matter more than numbers or power. That is what humans are capable of. Courage, adaptability, and heart, these are what make us valuable." From a simple delivery to a role that shaped the future of a city and its people, he had proven that humans were capable of extraordinary acts. Not because they were the strongest, but because they were resourceful, brave, and guided by a moral compass that inspired others. As the stars appeared in the night sky, shimmering over Valthuria, Jace understood that this was only the beginning. The galaxy was full of unknowns, dangers, and challenges, but humans, though rare, would always find a way to make a difference. And in that knowledge, he felt certain that no matter how vast the universe, humanity's light could shine brightest in moments that mattered most. The city below continued its quiet life, the people safe, the alliances secure, and a human, small in stature but immense in courage, stood ready to face whatever came next. Jace had delivered more than a package that day. He had delivered hope, courage, and proof that humans, when trusted and relied upon, could change the course of history. And as Cavalier everyone, he would continue to do so, one act of bravery, one inspired decision at a time.